Hello, I'm Julia Woning and today I'm going to show you how you can create a marble with PanPastel on pastelmat paper. I made a little drawing of a marble and I apply colorless blender and the white as a first layer. Why? Because I want to apply a very light color of blue, and if there is already a layer of white and a blender, it's easier to blend that light color on my surface. So I build it up layer by layer in combination with white blender first and then the turquoise. And when I look at the photo, this is my lightest spot. So light here, maybe a little bit ultramarine and a little bit of like this. I apply it like this, then I rub off my excess PanPastel on my soft tools and I made a nice value of a blue tint. This is the first way to apply your PanPastel on pastelmat, because you can apply lots of layers. And if you apply directly only a blue and then white and a colorless blender, then you will see some marks. So put down first a layer of the blender and the white and then apply some pigments. Okay, the same color is on top of the marble. So I apply blender, white, and I leave those spots where it has to be white open, so I won't apply any PanPastel yet. So I leave the white open like this. It's hardly seeable on the video, I'm guessing, because it's a very light color. There's some blue in my tool, so that's why you see some blue. But mainly I apply the first layer only with the colorless blender and the white. And because it's a blue marble, I can use my tool with some blue pigments in it, so that's no problem. Apply there where there is the light blue, like this. A little bit around here, but a little bit, not too much. Okay, and now I can apply some pigments like this, here and here. I had too much, rub it off a tissue paper and blend it all in with a very light touch. Don't use too much pressure, otherwise your sponges will deteriorate, so be aware of that. This is only possible because there is an underlayer of the white and the colorless blender. That's why I can apply the color lightly. This is the way how you can work on your pastelmat paper, because it's a sanded paper and it had a lot of structure. Like this. A little bit. Be careful with that color. You only touch it very lightly and place the color like this. Rather too light than too dark. Later on we can apply more pigments to create more contrast value. Now I want to create the darker tones, and I will use those different colors with the blender without the white and apply them there where I can see it's darker, like here. And get some more. If you want to make more detail, turn around your tool and make marks with the point of the tool. That way you can make smaller details or lines in your work. Be careful to make the nice round form of the marble, like this. Very light. And this is a layer on top of the pastel mat without any colorless blender underneath it. And then you can see you have to apply it very short area, so not a long line, because otherwise your sponge will deteriorate. So be careful with that. Very light hand, you can create that nice smooth rounding. If you find this difficult, turn around your paper to make it convenient for yourself. So be aware of that. That's the possibility that you can turn around your artwork. See here. Always looking at your reference photo where those colors are, where the light and dark colors are. Let me see on the camera if everything's going okay. Yeah. Okay. Like this. Okay, now I have to be careful because here is dark on the outside, not on the inside of the marble. So I place a little line there so I know where the contour is of the marble. Very slight, like very light, like this. Okay, again, and a little bit of colors blender, just a touch, and then I will apply the pastel here. And I build it up, layer for layer. And this is the first layer with the blue tone. What's nice about the pastel mat is that you can build up many layers. So you can get darker. If you want to get lighter, it's difficult. So you have to work next to each other. So blocking those colors. Or you can erase it, but better is to work those colors next to each other. Just give it the first layer. Don't get too dark yet, build it up. Like here is the line in the marble. And now it's difficult. Let me switch around to get that nice line of the circle. Like this. A little bit of blender. There is some dust, but it's very less. Make a nice line here. Very careful, because it's very light here. Like this. To make the round of the marble. Still with a light hand. Okay, turn it around again. There is our form of the marble. And let us concentrate on the marble. Later on I will apply some shade, but first I want to apply those colors in the marble. Okay, these are blue. Let me go to the reference photo, some blender, and again, maybe some white here. Place some touches like this, just to create that different kind of surface. Like this. Some turquoise, but more greenish than this one. So I apply some blender and the blue already in my tool to apply this color here. Much more white. To put down the first layer. Like this. More blender. And then I will apply some blue, but also a very slight touch of yellow to get that turquoise greenish color more like this. So I get a transparent color in the marble. And what I'm doing now is rubbing the color very slightly into the underlayer, and that's only possible because of the underlayer. If you didn't use the white and the blender underneath it, it's very difficult to get this form of flow in that color. Let me get some more contrast here, more blue. And be aware that the white is still working with your tonal value of the color. So apply a certain amount of color, but be aware that you have to make it more contrast as soon as you apply all those colors. So be aware of that. So I will leave it for this. And then I will apply all the colors that I can see. Again, some yellow, but very slightly yellow on top of the blue to create that more greenish turquoise color like this. Okay, I can see it a little bit here. So with the color that's already in my tool, I'll apply it on different spots in my marble. Let me do it like this, like here, a little bit here, greenish tone on top of here. Be careful. This is a harder project than, like, say, the pink balloon. The pink balloon is already a very nice project to get acquainted with PanPastel on pastelmat paper, how much PanPastel you have to use and how you apply those layers. And this will be a more advanced project. And if you create, oh, what happens here? I get some red, probably from my arm. Let me see if I can get it off. No, of course not. Then I will use an eraser, just a normal eraser. And I will try to get rid of that smudge. It's almost gone. Be aware of that. That there is nothing on your arm or on your hands. Okay, let's go further. Where was I? Oh, I explained that this is a more advanced project because there are small forms, different colors, and different overlayers of different colors. So be aware of that. But it's a nice project to get it in your fingers, as we say in Holland. Like this. Okay. Before I apply another color, there is like an orange brown color in this marble. I want to apply more blue. Yeah, I want to apply more blue. So I apply some colorless blender and some white again in here. Very light. And again here on the top. Like this. Yeah, and I will switch in different tools. So this is the round one, this is a oval one. I will get an orange. Let me make an orange. I know it's orange, but it's not orange. I take some yellow, a little bit of red on my yellow, and I apply a little bit of blue because it's more like an ochreish tone than a orange tone. So I want to make an ochre tint. If you're not sure if this is the correct color, you can use a paper. Yeah. Okay. And I will use some blending. And let me apply the orange color in here. And then you can see what happens with the blue. The blue was very much in front of the drawing, and now it's competing with that orange. So it's important to place those colors first before you go ahead with your contrast in your colors, because they will work with each other. Again, blending with the colorless blender, blending it all out like this. And of course, this orange or ochre tone with the blue will get you a greenish color. And that's no problem. Again, be aware of how that round is. It's not round, it's more like an oval shape. So keep looking at your reference photo to get the correct rounding of that orange tone in your drawing, because that's important for your marble. That gives the right depth in your marble. Something like this. Okay, now I apply some extra because I want to have a darker color, maybe some gray in it. And let me apply that dark color like this to get some contrast. Again, look at the roundings or the line that you want to create. And you can see with a soft tool, you can create a very nice thin line. Of course, you can apply some pastel pencil, but I prefer to work with just only PanPastel for the longest time I can do it, possibly because I like it. And maybe later on I want to apply some pastel pencils, but I'm not sure yet. Also, it's a very good exercise for your mobility with your hands and your tools. So as long as possible, work with those tools, even in those slight lines, small lines or details. And work all those colors together. Like this. There is some extra blue. Take it off. no light line next to the dark, so mix it all up. Maybe some blender. The blender is a colorless blender, so you can mix those colors very well. Something like this. Yeah. Again, back to the blue, and I will apply some blue again, because now I can see how dark I can go with my blue or my turquoise. So like this, and maybe more with this. Oh, that's too much. Always looking at your reference photo, what kind of tone value you want to create. And be careful. Something like this. Maybe a line here. And you build it up layer by layer, tonal values by tonal values. In my book PanPastel Workshop, I explain about the difference between PanPastel and the classical pastel sticks, but also all kinds of projects. And you can find them also on my YouTube, but the colors I've used you can find in the book. And I will explain to you step by step how you can work with those PanPastels. Mixing those blues and those oranges together to get a very nice color combination. See what happens? You can mix those colors. This is almost like working in wet oil paint. It's very similar. It's like wet on wet in oil, but then with the pastel and the tools. It's working with dry paint, dry pigments, if that makes sense. Building it up. It's getting there. Okay, let me get some darkness here, and I will use some brownish to get those darker values in those blues. Of course, I can use the gray or the black, but let me prefer to use those brown tones first. It makes more sense and gives more depth in the color. Then I would use only a black tone. So create your own dark tone with your red, blue and yellow in the blue. Maybe some more yellow. Like this, and this is dark. Maybe here I can use some black and blue. Because this is my darkest spot on my marble. Like this. Building it up. Be aware that there is black on your tool. Rub it off, again with blue, yellow and red, and apply it like this. Just to mix those colors together to create a nice value of a dark color. Maybe some turquoise in the here. Maybe some more yellow. Ooh, that's too much. Then to the dark color again. Applying a tone. Again, some extra blue. building up those layers. With the tip of the soft tool, I can create very fine lines, very thin lines. Need some practice. Again, with a light touch, creating the value that you can see in your reference photo. Bit there. Just with a eraser, just a little bit. And that's nice from PanPastel. You can erase it very easily, even on the pastelmat paper. Now I apply some shade. And that's a dark color, so I apply the dark color underneath the marble with blue tones and with some gray. Be careful. A little magenta so I can create like a pink color. Then some blending. Again. Creating the dark shade of the marble on the surface. Some white, again some blue, and building it up. Rather do it lightly than too harsh. So building it up, rub it off on your tissue paper, place some turquoise blue, maybe some blender, because there is no underlayer, so that's difficult to make a very light color. Black, pink, blue, to create darker value in the shade. Against the marble. Rub it off again on the tissue paper. Get the blue color. Oh, that's too much. It's important to place the shade of the marble on the surface, because then the marble is in a room, in a space, on the table or whatever. It's not hanging on the paper. So the shade is important in combination with the marble. Now I'm rubbing off maybe a different tool. I take a different tool because I want to apply some colorless blender on the area where there's a light blue tone, and that's why I create a underlayer. So the colorless blender, maybe some white, some blue, and then I can rub it in, and then it's much easier to blend that light tone of blue on your surface, because there is an underlayer of the colorless blender and the white. And then you can build up again. The same process as you did in the marble, only now you do it in the shade. And be aware that in the shade there is no harsh lines, so no straight lines. It's all out of focus, soft, So we have to blend those colors very nicely. Again, colorless blender. Some blue. Ooh, that was too much. More blender to rub it off. Building it up. Layer by layer. Blender on the outside. Then some blue marks. It's only possible to apply those colors when there is an underlayer of the colorless blender or another color, but otherwise you will see those blue marks on your paper. So be aware of that. It's only possible when you have already placed an underlayer on your pastelmat paper. And then you smoothen it out very gently. No harsh lines, very smooth blending. Some magenta, some turquoise, again colorless blender, and then lots of white on top of it. Blending it all on the paper to create a nice shade of the marble. And what happens, that I already explained before, the marble is now placed in a room, on a table, on the floor. It's somewhere. It's not floating around on the paper. So the shade is very important. That outline also, it's to blending it out. Building it up. And some blue. Watching to your reference photo what kind of form it is. It's not a circle, it's more like an oval shape. Again, some turquoise, blending it all with a light hand, and that's possible because there is enough underlayer underneath those colors. So it's much easier to blend. Again, more blue on the inside of the shade, the outside, and building it up. Like that. More blue. Creating all those values and light and dark in the shade. Again, some darkness in the marble. And let me see if the rounding is okay. I'm guessing here is maybe more like this. It's always difficult to get a nice circle. Turn it around with your arm. Yeah, this is better. Okay, again, get those darkness in the marble, so apply some darker colors. with the blue and maybe some purple. Building it up like this. Again on the other side. Maybe here on top. Let me see if that's not too dark. Very slight touch, even here on the top. There is enough PanPastel in my soft tool to give that darker tone. Like this. Maybe another dark tone like that. Always looking at your reference photo where you can apply some darker color. If you find it difficult to get some contrast, close your eyes and look through your lashes, and then maybe it will be easier for you to see the contrast in that project. Maybe more turquoise, greenish color here. Maybe more blue. Build up those layers. Again here. Something like that. Green here. And I would like to apply some turquoise around this white value underneath the marble. There is a line, but it's much too pronounced here. So let me see if I can, maybe I can switch. So that means I switch my sponge on my tool to get a new clean one, like this. Take some white and be aware that there is no other color on your sponge, and apply the white color, because this is the widest of the white that you will have, and from this value you have to tonal all the other values in your project. If that's a marble or a portrait or whatever, always look at a certain time for your lightest light and your darkest dark, and all those other tonal values will go with it. Let me see where there's also more white, like on top of here. Apply extra white. And you can see I create less dust. You don't need to use a lot of dust to create a value or a color. That's not necessary. So these are my whitest spots, like this. My highlights on my marble. And then maybe here too, already place some white. Like this. Maybe some in here, just a little sparkles in here. But I'm guessing these are okay. Okay, now I go further with the color around the white, and I will use the white sponge, and I will mix this very slightly together, and again blending out all those colors with each other. And look through your lashes to see if it's okay, if the contrast is okay, or if you need an extra color like this. Here on top I want to have more color, and I apply it with this sponge. This I can't use anymore for white, but I can use it for my blue tones. So again, I'll work with this tool for my blue tones. That's why I'm always having more tools than one or two. In my starter kit by Julia Woning, you have 2 tools, the square one, the flat one, and the oval one. But there are 2 other ones, like the triangle and the round point. And I have several from all those different forms because it's easier to work with different tools for different color families. So like this, more blue, maybe some white in the blue to get more like a opaque color. If you apply the white through the color, of course you can lighten up the color, but you can make it also more opaque. Like this. Again, some more dark color in here. If I create darker, then the white will get whiter. The contrast is only possible when you apply white, light and dark next to each other. And you can get depth in your work if you apply light and dark next to each other. So building up, and you can see smaller details, smaller darkness makes it more interesting. Again, underneath the marble, I place an extra dark line to get that contrast darker. Maybe some black again, but be aware of that. Sometimes it's too dark. Rather make a purple or mix it with gray to create a darker value. And here I have a light line, and there is no light line, so I have to create a darker line, and that I will do with just the blue one. Clean your brush or brush your tools again. It's almost like a brush, working with those tools and PanPastel. Building it up, make that light line disappear by applying a dark color blue. Yeah, that's better. Now I think this one is still too light, so I will switch to the other one with the orange tonal, and I will create some ochre tint with red, yellow and blue, like this. Later on, when I'm finished for this project, I will clean my PanPastel to just apply with another sponge on top of it, no problem. Let me apply some darker color here. Some darker tones, like this. Again. Yeah, something like this. And I want to apply a darker line with red, blue and yellow on the point and create a darker line. Maybe some gray, mixing it all. I don't want to have it too warm, a cooler brownish tone. So that's why I apply some blue mixing with my color. Like this. And be aware of the line. It's not straight, it's more like a, yeah, something different than a straight line. More dipping the line than drawing the line, if that makes sense. Something like this. Again. Building it up. And what I'm seeing that this is a very light blue and it has to be darker. So I will switch my soft tool again from the round one. And there is already an underlayer. So I only need to have some extra blue, take the excess a little bit off and apply it on here. Why I'm switching the tools, because this is already blue. There is a slightly tonal value of a black in my soft tool. And even if it doesn't rub off on your paper, it will rub off on your pastel mat. So be aware of that. So that's why you have to use a clean sponge to make sure there is no black in your sponge. After this project, you can clean those sponges with some hand soap and water underneath the tap and squeeze them out and let them dry by air, and you can use them again. If you have a lot, for example, after a workshop, I have a lot of sponges and tools, and I will put them in a lingerie basket, I'm guessing that you pronounce that in English, and then do it in the washing machine. Synthetical for cold for a short program, washing program, and then they're clean too. So like this, some extra blue, but be careful. It's quite easy to apply too much pigments or pan pastels, so be aware of that. Again, be careful around the outline of the circle of those colors, and here again more blue. Just tap it on it and rub it in. That's how you can apply those colors on pastelmat, layer by layer, from light to dark, from large to small areas, and building it up. Always looking at your reference photo if the contrast color is okay. And for me, I'm guessing it's much too light here, so I have to apply another layer of color even in here, because these are white, these are light blue, so apply some blue again. Rubbing it all in, bit by bit, layer by layer, rather too light than once too dark, so building it up. Then I see that there is a similar tone or value of the insert of the marble and the two light spots, so I have to create a new color. That's why I'm changing my sponge on the soft tool. I'm flipping it around so I have a new base, and I apply a light blue on the middle of the marble, so I create a darker value in the marble, so the white of the lightning that's on the marble will be more white. makes sense. Building it up. Again, here is an underlayer of the colorless blender and the white, and now I am building it up with more blue tone. Mixing it all together, rather start light and building it up darker. Creating more contrast in the marble. Building it up, layer by layer, creating the round form in the marble. Yeah, maybe some green turquoise. Again, more yellow to create a turquoise color. Building it up. Blue. Again. Maybe in the orange. Orange tone a little bit there. Always looking at the reference photo where you can apply the new color or where you can create the right value. Building those layers and then some details. Some details, not too much. Again, here, some dark colors. Even in here, there are dark spots. And of course, you can apply that with some pastel pencils, but I prefer to create this project completely with the PanPastel set from Julia Woning, the basic colors. Easy for on the way if you go on holiday and you want to take your PanPastels with you, but you don't want to prefer to use all those colors, or which colors do you want to take with you. These are the basic colors that you can use to create all kinds of projects. Like this. I'm guessing I'm almost there. That's the difficult part. When do you stop? You always see certain things. Something like this, a little bit darkness in here. Maybe some extra dark again in here to create those nice values of light and dark. Just a tip here and there to create that darker value. Again, some blue on top of it. And again, smoothen the outer lines. Yeah, I'm guessing this is it. Maybe let me take the other one tool. This is a nice tool where you can apply very small details. And I want to apply some white, especially in here, if that is possible. Yeah, real white. Let me see if that's possible. Some white in here to get some sparkle in this marble. Again, in here. Yeah, I'm happy with the result. It's not super realistic, but it's a very great project to get acquainted with the PanPastel on your pastel mat, with the colorless blender and the layering up all those different colors. I hope you enjoy this project. Try it yourself. I will upload the photo in my community here on YouTube so you can download it and enjoy. And till next time, bye.